What would you do if you witnessed a powerful CEO belittle an employee, using his status and wealth to intimidate someone just doing their job? Would you stay silent, or would you find the courage to step in and make a difference? On a seemingly ordinary day at the Apple Store in New York City, Barron Trump faced this exact dilemma, and his unexpected response left everyone in the store shocked. It was a typical day in the bustling flagship Apple Store. Customers were browsing through the latest gadgets, from sleek MacBooks to high-tech iPhones. The air buzzed with the excitement of tech enthusiasts and curious shoppers, all drawn to the world-famous store, eager to see the newest Apple products. The minimalistic design of the store, with its glass walls and polished floors, stood in stark contrast to the chaos of the outside world. But what no one expected was that a moment of confrontation, driven by arrogance and entitlement, would unfold within these walls. At one end of the store, a confrontation was brewing. A tall man in a designer suit, his face flushed with frustration, stood at the counter where a young employee was trying her best to calm him down. His voice was rising, echoing across the store, and his words were harsh. He was the CEO of a well-known tech company, someone used to getting his way and command respect. But today he was about to learn that not everyone would bow to his status. "I can't believe this. I've been waiting for this MacBook for days." The CEO's voice cut through the otherwise calm store. "And you're telling me you don't have it in stock? What kind of business are you running here?" The young woman behind the counter, probably no older than 22, tried to remain composed as the man's voice grew louder with each passing second. She was clearly uncomfortable, her hands nervously fidgeting as she spoke. "I'm really sorry, sir," she said, trying to remain polite despite the barrage of complaints. "We're currently out of stock, but we can place an order for you and have it delivered as soon as it's available." The CEO's eyes narrowed. "Do you have any idea who I am? I don't have time to wait." His voice dripped with entitlement. "I'm a top-tier client. I don't wait for anything." Around the store, customers glanced at each other uncomfortably. Some were trying to ignore the escalating situation, while others took a step back, not wanting to be caught in the middle of the confrontation. But there was no mistaking the tension in the air. The young woman at the counter stood frozen, clearly trying to hold her composure in the face of this overwhelming aggression. It was at this point that Barron Trump, who had been quietly browsing the MacBook display a few feet away, noticed what was happening. Barron was known for his quiet demeanor, rarely attracting attention, and he often kept a low profile despite his famous family name. However, as the confrontation continued to escalate, something stirred within him. He had grown up in the public eye, witnessing the struggles of those who were often dismissed or ignored because of their social or economic status. This was one of those moments, an opportunity to stand up for what was right. Barron had always been more reserved than his family members, but deep down he believed in fairness, kindness, and respect for others. Seeing this CEO use his power to belittle an employee who had no control over the situation was a step too far for him. Without hesitating, Barron made his way toward the exchange, his tall frame cutting through the crowd as he walked with purpose. The CEO was too absorbed in his tirade to notice Barron's approach, but as Barron drew near, the young woman behind the counter noticed him, and her eyes flickered with hope. Barron had always been known as the son of a president, but now in this moment he was more than that. He was an individual who wasn't afraid to do the right thing no matter who was watching. As he reached the CEO, Barron cleared his throat, making the man pause mid-sentence. The room seemed to hold its breath as the CEO turned to face Barron, his expression one of confusion mixed with irritation. Barron, who had been watching the CEO's aggressive behavior, was calm and composed as he addressed the man directly. "Excuse me, sir," Barron said, his voice steady but firm. "I couldn't help but overhear what's happening here. I think you may have forgotten something." The CEO, taken aback by the interruption, glanced Barron up and down, clearly sizing him up. Barron was dressed simply in a hoodie and jeans, nothing like the CEO's designer suit. The contrast in their appearances was stark, but Barron's presence wasn't defined by his clothing. It was his posture, his calm yet assertive tone, and his willingness to speak up when most would remain silent that made the difference. "What exactly do you think I've forgotten?" the CEO snapped, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Barron didn't flinch. He took a deep breath and looked the CEO straight in the eye. "You've forgotten that respect isn't something you can buy or demand. It's something you earn. And right now, you're not doing a very good job of earning it." The words hit the CEO like a punch to the gut. For a moment he stood there, caught off guard by Barron's confidence and calm demeanor. This wasn't the response he expected, and certainly not from someone so young. The people around them began to take notice, the tension in the air palpable. I don't think you understand who you're speaking to, the CEO growled, trying to regain control of the situation. I don't take orders from anyone, especially not from some kid. Barron's response was immediate. I don't take orders from anyone either. But that doesn't mean I can't speak up when I see someone being treated unfairly. The young employee behind the counter looked at Barron, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and gratitude. Once confident in his superiority, the CEO found himself backed into a corner, unable to respond to Barron's calm authority. Barron continued, his voice unwavering. It's not about the money or the title. It's about how we treat people. And right now, you're treating this young woman with disrespect. You may think you can get away with it because of your status, but you're forgetting one thing. Respect is a two-way street. The room was silent. Even the most skeptical customers watching the scene unfold couldn't help but nod in agreement. Barron's words resonated with them. The arrogance of the CEO had become so glaringly obvious that it was impossible to ignore. The CEO opened his mouth to argue, but something in Barron's demeanor stopped him. The young man wasn't intimidated by his wealth or status. He wasn't afraid to call out behavior that was wrong, even in the face of power. The moment had shifted, and the CEO, who once seemed so untouchable, now found himself faltering. He closed his mouth, clearly unsure of how to respond to Barron's boldness. For a long, uncomfortable moment, the CEO stood there, processing the situation. It wasn't that he was afraid of Barron. He was simply caught off guard by his unwavering stance and the force of his words. The arrogance that had previously fueled his anger seemed to deflate, and the room began to relax. Finally, the CEO cleared his throat. His pride hurt, but his anger subsided. Fine, he muttered, visibly defeated. I'll wait. But you're out of line. Barron didn't react to the CEO's muttered response. Instead, he turned toward the young employee, giving her a reassuring smile. You're doing a great job, he said softly. Don't let people like that get to you. The young woman, shaking with nervous energy throughout the confrontation, looked up at Barron, her eyes welling up with gratitude. Thank you, she whispered, her voice trembling. I don't know what to say. Barron nodded. You don't have to say anything. Just know that you deserve respect. No one should ever treat you like that, especially not over something so small. As Barron made his way toward the exit, he glanced back one last time. The CEO was still standing there, silently seething. But the damage had been done. Barron had made his point. The room had seen the difference between power and respect. And it was clear that Barron's response wasn't just about confronting one man. It was about reminding everyone in the room that treating others with kindness and dignity was what truly mattered. As he exited the store, Barron didn't look back. He didn't need to. He had done what he came to do, stand up for what was right. And while the CEO might have walked away with his pride bruised, the impact of Barron's words would stick with him far longer than any piece of tech or luxury status symbol ever could.